Hi there, everybody. Happy Conferences Week. Today we are doing more division for our homework, and I'm going to be working with you on one of each type of problem. So I will show you 3 different problems as well as talk about the vocabulary a little bit. Let's get started. So you see number 3 on your screen. The directions for number 3 say use the array to find each unknown. So the array that they're talking about is just this picture here. So we need to use this picture to find the unknown of these two math sentences. So our unknowns, there's a square here and there's a question mark here. Those are the 2 numbers that we need to figure out, our unknowns. So if we look at our array, we can figure out what the multiplication sentence should be. On this side here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stars. And on the top here, we have 1, 2, 3 stars. So we can say that this is a 7 by 3 array. So that tells us that this array represents 7 times 3. If we look over here, we see 7 times something equals 21. So since our array is a 7 by 3 array, our math sentence, our multiplication sentence should say 7 times 3 equals 21. So that means we know that our square equals a 3. So for the division sentence, we need to figure out what is the first number. What is our dividend? Now our dividend, remember, is always the biggest number, okay? So our dividend normally is how many do we have all together? How many have we divided? The total number, in this case, stars. So if we count our stars, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So we know that this question mark should be 21 divided by 7 equals 3. So down here, our question mark equals 21. Instead of counting your stars, you also could have thought of the inverse operation. So we figured out that this up here was 7 times 3 equals 21. We could have just put it backwards, switched around the numbers a little bit, and moved our 21 to our question mark. So now you have number 5 on your screen. Today in class, we talked about something new, something we haven't talked about yet this year, which was fact families. And I'll write that here. Fact families. Okay, so fact families are all the different math sentences, multiplication and division, that you can make out of just 3 numbers. So the 3 numbers that we have here are 5, 8, and 40. Those 3 numbers are a part of a family because they're all related somehow. So we need to figure out which 2 multiplication sentences can we make and which 2 division sentences can we make out of these 3 numbers. The directions on number 5 says, write the fact family for each set of numbers. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's think of our multiplication sentences first. We have 5, 8, and 40. Remember, in multiplication, your biggest number always goes last. So let's go ahead and put equals 40 because we know it's going to be last. So that means we only have 2 numbers left. That means it must be 5 times 8. And then we can use the commutative property and switch our numbers and do 8 times 5. So there we have our multiplication sentences for these 3 numbers. Now we need to think of our division sentences for these 3 numbers. Now remember, for division, the biggest number always goes first. Multiplication last, division first. So go ahead and write the biggest number first. Now we can do this just looking at the numbers and thinking about, 40 divided by what equals what. We can think of it that way. Or we can look over here at our multiplication and think of the inverse operations. What would the inverse operation of this first one be? 5 times 8 equals 40. If we do it backwards, if we say the opposite, the inverse operation of 5 times 8 equals 40 would be 40 divided by 8 equals 5. We just go backwards. And the same for 8 times 5 equals 40. It would be 40 divided by 5 equals 8. All right, here's number 7. So numbers 7 and 8 are pretty much doing the opposite of what we did for numbers 5 and 6. For 5 and 6, we wrote all of the different math sentences. For 7 and 8, we need to write down the numbers that are being used in these math sentences. It's pretty simple. All we need to do is look at these 4 math sentences. We have 2 multiplication and we have 2 division. Which 3 numbers are in each of these problems? Let's see. In this one, we see a 4. In this one, we see a 4. Here we see a 4, and here we see a 4. So we know there's a 4 in all 4 of them. Okay. All right, let's look again. Here we have a 9, here we have a 9, here we have a 9, and here we have a 9. So all 4 of them also have a 9. And lastly, here's a 36, here's a 36, here and here. All 4 of them have 36. So that's all we needed to do. We just needed to write the 3 numbers that all 4 of these have. We wrote the set of numbers for each fact family. Now remember, all 4 of these together are called a fact family because it's the same 3 numbers, but 4 different math sentences. We have 2 multiplication, 2 division. That's a fact family. Okay, so hopefully you can finish the rest of the worksheet on your own. But before you do, let's talk about some vocabulary first. So we have 5 words on our paper. We have dividend, divisor, fact family, inverse operations, and quotient. Now remember these 3 words, dividend, divisor, and quotient. Those 3 words are the names that we give for the different numbers inside of our division sentence. So for example, if I have 40 divided by 5 equals something, my dividend, my big number, my first number, is going to be my 40. That's the number I'm dividing, separating, partitioning, breaking apart. 40, my dividend, the number being divided, okay? And then my divisor, my 5, that's the number I'm dividing my dividend by. So I know I'm going to have my dividend, 40, and I'm going to break that up into 5 different groups, okay? That's my divisor, the number by which a dividend is divided. And then the quotient, that's basically a fancy word for the answer. So for addition, we had the sum. For subtraction, we had the difference. For multiplication, we had the product. And now for division, we have the quotient. So the quotient of this particular division sentence would be 8. 40 divided by 5 equals 8. So for our other 2, fact family and inverse operations. If we remember, our fact family are those 4 different math sentences using the same numbers. The different math sentences using the same numbers is called the fact family. So in our book, it says a group of related facts that use the same numbers. So if I wanted to make my fact family for this one, I would switch it around. 40 divided by 8 equals 5. And then I would have 8 times 5 equals 40, or 5 times 8 equals 40. So these 4 math sentences create a fact family because they're all different sentences, but they all use the same 3 numbers. Now last one, inverse operations. Let's do 6 times 7 equals 42. Here is my multiplication sentence. Now the inverse operation, the opposite, something that is going to undo that. I want to go back to the beginning. I have 6 times 7 equals 42. I want to say, oh, never mind, go back, beep, 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 back up. Then I can go backwards and say 42 divided by 7 equals 6. Now I'm back where I started. I undid what I just did. So in our book, it says operations that undo each other. So multiplication undoes division, and addition undoes subtraction. Okay? Inverse operations, opposites. So today's math was a little bit more tricky to explain, but I really think our students understood it in class. If not, that's okay. Let's just try our best on our homework. That's all I ever ask, and then you can bring it in tomorrow and ask me all the questions that you have. I hope you all have a fabulous evening, and actually, I won't see you tomorrow, so go ahead and bring it on Thursday if you have any questions, and have a fabulous, fabulous day off. Bye, everybody.